One time. She's about to be. Lego!
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the High Earning Housewife podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Empowers, and thank you so much for tuning into this episode. So, on this new series, what we are doing is interviewing high earning housewives to share their journey of how they're being able to be the CEO of their business and their home as well. Today, I'm so excited to be interviewing Courtney Williams as she shares her journey of being a mother of four, full-time influencer, and working in corporate America. Courtney, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So can we just start off by you introducing yourself, telling people who you are, how long you've been married, and how many children you have?
Yes, so like she said, I'm Courtney Williams. I am a wife and a mom and an influencer. I'm based in Houston, Texas. I just celebrated my 5-year wedding anniversary just
Yay.
2 weeks ago. So that was pretty exciting. And then we also have 4 children. We're a blended family. So we came into it with 2 and then we added 2 together.
Yes, I love it. So, I mean, Courtney, I know you personally, but for
Right.
those who are listening who don't know you, can you just say, what your background is, what's your career and what's the business that you're currently building?
Yes, so I have a degree in marketing, and I have been working in marketing for, let's see, I graduated in 2011, so 10 years,
Yeah.
10 years now. And so I have a corporate job. It's really in like marketing and healthcare, where I do sales and I push referrals for a pediatric therapy clinic. So pre-COVID, I was out all day having meetings with doctors in and out of hospitals because it's a clinic for children with autism. So I mainly meet with doctors who diagnose autism, which is like neurologists, developmental pediatrician, psychologists. Those are the ones that diagnose autism in kids. So I would be at those offices having luncheons and things like that. Ever since COVID, I've been working from home for my day job. And then I've also built this blogger slash influencer business. We like to call it a digital marketing firm, where I partner with brands and I do things on that side of things. And so that's become a full-time job as well. And so I tell people I'm basically right now juggling 2 full-time jobs.
Yes. So, how has that affected you when it comes to your marriage, being a mom? Like, I know it, like on social media, the brand that you've built is absolutely beautiful. And, you just take people on your journey, which is excellent. But being that you do have literally two full-time jobs, how has that affected you mentally and your marriage?
It's been a lot. I'm not gonna lie, just to be honest, it's definitely an adjustment, especially in the beginning, because I would still say my business is fairly new. So it's really just figuring out a good work-life balance that works for me, that works for my husband, that works for my children. And it's really just kind of been a trial and error process. In the beginning, when things really started to pick up for my business, I found myself working pretty much around the clock. Like
Yeah.
I would do my 9 to 5, and then I would be glued to my computer for the rest of the day until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then have to get up at 6 o'clock and then start it all over. And I just got to a point to where I just realized that that just wasn't healthy. It wasn't the best situation for my husband. It wasn't the best situation for my kids. I felt overwhelmed a lot of the times. And then that starts seeping into other areas of your life. I also started dealing with anxiety, which I never dealt with in my life before. And so I was just always kind of like stressed and high strung and on edge. And so I just told myself, like, look, we just have to figure out a way to make this work to where I'm still able to pursue my passion and
Yeah.
have my business, but that I'm still present and the best wife and mom that I could be as well. So I would definitely say it took a lot of prioritizing, sacrifices, and then also a huge thing is just learning to say no. I
Yeah.
think with me just starting out with my business and the type of business that I'm into, when you get an email and when you get an opportunity and when this brand wants to work with you, it's so exciting. But I kind of had to learn how to start weeding through those opportunities and seeing the ones I could take on, just the ones I have the capacity for, and just learning how to say no to, and learning, it's okay to walk away from money or certain opportunities if, it's for your well-being, for
Yeah.
sure.
No, and I really appreciate your transparency because on this podcast, I do interview other high earning women. And sometimes, we see the beautiful Instagram life, but it's like, well, no, there's actual work that comes
Right.
behind that. And I really do appreciate your transparency. So, how long have you been doing your digital marketing business?
Yes, so I would say intentionally, with just being a content creator and putting out content, that provides value to others. I've been doing that part quite a while, for a couple of years. It didn't become really profitable into probably like the past 2 years. Is when I really saw things kind of take a turn. But like I said, just being intentional with the content that I put out, probably for like 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
and it's interesting. I don't know if you remember how we got connected, but Ebony,
Yes.
she texted me and was like, I really think you and Courtney need to like link
Yes.
up. And so that was a
Yes.
few years ago. And I don't think at the time, like you were sharing content, but it's definitely not at the point which it is now.
Right, for
And
sure.
so the question I have for you, so with in this world of, entrepreneurship and quitting your 9 to 5 and just working from everywhere, what has motivated you to continue to work your full-time job when I know that your influencer job can easily sustain you.
Right.
So what has motivated you to keep both?
Honestly, I would say it's a little bit of two things, and those two things actually probably contradict each other. But one, I would say just being led, just being obedient, and just knowing when the time is right, with God, because sometimes we could look at things and it makes the most sense. And it's like, yeah, girl, like leave. It doesn't even make sense for you to do both, but just making sure that the timing is right. But on the flip side, I would also say, just to be completely transparent, it's probably a little fear too, because honestly, my husband has been pushing me like, Courtney, you have my blessing. Like, I'm totally fine with you just doing this full time and just pursuing your passion and your business and your dream. But I think, with entrepreneurs and when you're trying to build a business, especially if you come from a corporate background and you're used to getting that check every 2 weeks, it's the same amount,
Yeah.
it's coming. There's that little fear as well. And it's that, comfort blanket that we all struggle with kind of throwing off of us for sure. So I think it's a mix of both. And then also, we have some pretty aggressive financial goals over the next couple of years. So I think it's a bit of me telling myself that in the back of my head too, although I think we would be fine even if I still stepped out on faith and just had my job. But we have some things that we want to do, like completely become debt free all the way around. We want to purchase our dream home. We both need larger cars because all these kids that we have.
Yeah.
So I just feel like we're kind of locked in and laser focused
Yeah.
on, some big goals that we have coming up in the next year or two as well.
Yeah. And I remember when you uh, were a speaker for the Hiring Housewife Boot Camp, you mentioned that you guys are saving up for your dream home. And I
Yes.
think that's so inspiring. And even though like right now, this is a busy season, it's going to pay off, and just being
Right.
completely debt free. And that's something, one of the core objectives of the High Earning Housewife is really encouraging that and living below your means so you can
Right.
be in a position where you pursue your dreams. So,
Right.
where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I definitely see myself running my business full time, that's for sure. So I don't see myself still juggling the two in 5 years. And we really want to just expand our business, expand the streams of income that we have. We want to take it even further than just working with brands and really just make it a mega like household brand, from writing books to doing podcasts and doing potential clothing lines and things of that such. So in 5 years, I really pray that the wheels are already just spinning in our business. While we'll still be busy, but I pray that at that point we're kind of in autopilot to
Yeah.
where, we're not just super busy like we are now with the new business and super young kids. Our kids will be a little bit older at that time. And one big goal that we have is just being a full-time family.
Mm.
So eventually me and my husband both aspire to leave our day jobs, be a full-time family, be present with our kids, not have to miss anything, not have to ask anyone to take off if we want to. And like I said, just running our business and
Yeah.
enjoying our family.
Yeah. And so how was your upbringing? Like, were you raised to be debt free and manage your finances? Like, was that your upbringing?
No, that was not my upbringing at all. I was raised by a single mom. My grandmother, my mom's mom, helped her out a lot. So my grandmother was really present in my life as well. But of course, with my mom being a single mom, she dropped out of college actually when she got pregnant with me. So my whole life, it was just kind of her just like making ends meet, a lot of times like working two jobs, living paycheck to paycheck, and just making sure me and my sister didn't go without anything. And so, we didn't really talk about money. Me and my husband were both first generation business owners. So we don't come from a lineage where we're like inheriting a business, or our parents were business owners and kind of showed us the ropes. And so we're really just kind of like figuring all of this out as we go. And it's definitely been a learning curve. I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, like, it's such a blessing to be just financially independent of a 9 to 5, but at the same time, it comes with a lot of other things and just a big learning curve as well. And so we've just been fortunate to have the quick growth that we've had, but on the back end, we're learning a lot as we
Yeah.
go.
And I love how intentional you guys are about changing your generational legacy and really being the change and becoming debt free and doing all of these things and being so wise now, because there are a lot of people that are in your position that are earning a great living, but instead of really, scaling back and being intentional, they're just blowing it
Yeah.
on things. But I have a question because I can relate to you. Like, same here, growing up in a single house. My mom was a single mom with 4 girls, and definitely provided everything that we needed, not our wants. That's why I feel like I have
Right.
such a like hustle, go get it, because I didn't like, now that I know that, oh, well, I can do things for myself, then I do it. But have you ever struggled with the mindset of treating yourself to things? Sometimes people who grew up who lacked in the area of finances, they may have like a poverty mindset. But do you find yourself like do you ever struggle with your mindset around finances?
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. I think for me, whereas a lot of people who may didn't grow up in a certain situation and they don't know how to handle money, when they do come into a situation where they have more money, they blow it just because they never had any, financial education or background. Whereas I think with me, I'm the opposite, but to the extreme. So I like
Okay.
really, really hold on to my money. Even now, there's things like, even for the business, there's things that my husband's like, we need to do this or we need to get, and it takes me forever. Like, even believe it or not, some people are shocked when I tell them, as long as I've been doing, creating content and taking pictures, we just purchased our first professional grade camera because yes, like what, maybe a month or so ago, we just did it. And my husband had been telling me like, Courtney, we need to get a camera. We need to get a camera. And there was one that I had my eye on, and I kept just being like, well, let's just save for it. Let's research. Let's do this. Like, just talking myself out of it. And so I'm just the type of person that, although I can make these purchases, I just kind of like hoard my money because I'm just like, you never know what's going to happen. And so I think that's kind of the mindset I have, that when you didn't grow up with a certain situation, now your mindset is still there. So my mindset hasn't really switched, to the income that we're bringing in and things of that such.
Yeah. And just to give listeners a perspective without putting your financial stuff on, blast, your influencer business, has it surpassed your 9 to 5 when it comes to income?
Yeah, greatly.
Okay.
Yeah. At the end of last year, probably the second half of last year, I started averaging my yearly corporate income per month with my influencer business. So
Okay. So to say that again,
I know it's
how
pretty
much
wild.
how much you earned yearly in your, we'll call it your corporate job, your marketing
Right.
job, you make a month as an influencer.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to even like wrap your head around that. But yeah, that's how significant, or how, the growth that we've had, that we've been fortunate to have with our business. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And the beautiful thing is you started sharing content online and blogging, not with the mindset of becoming an influencer. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when I started being intentional, it was around the time we got engaged. So that's why I say, because we've been married 5 years. So really almost 6-ish years was when I at least started being intentional just with sharing my journey. I remember the very first time I really kind of went into detail was when we got engaged. And I just kind of told my story of just coming from a single mom and, courting God's way, and now I'm engaged, and the post like went viral. That was like the first time ever. And, before then my following was like my friends, my
Yeah.
family, like people from college. And I just use Instagram to like just share my life like everybody else, as far as like, oh, I'm going out to eat or whatever, and the post went viral, and I got so many messages, and the response from it from women that were just like, oh my gosh, I needed this. Like, this gave me hope, this gave me inspiration. And I was just kind of like, wow, like there's definitely, a group of people that could really benefit from me just sharing my testimony. Because I'm sure a lot of single moms don't, just see those success stories of you can still have happily ever after, even if your life took a turn you didn't expect it. So it was at that point that I was like, okay, I'm going to be more intentional about just sharing my testimony, sharing my journey. And I had no idea. I don't even think at that point I ever even heard the word influencer.
Yeah.
I think that's when Instagram was just kind of really becoming like this big thing, and just where people shared pictures, but it was not what it is now, to where you see all these bloggers and influencers and working with brands, and a lot of people know what it is. That wasn't the case 6 years ago. And so it was definitely something that just started off very naturally, for sure.
So on this journey, you started with, just really pure, like sharing your journey, wanting to be just an example, a positive example for people. Have you ever struggled with getting caught up in like your follower count or producing, like, how sometimes people can start off with like, oh, from this genuine place. And then because of watching other people and succeeding in their digital marketing businesses, like, have you ever gotten to that point, or do you feel like you've stayed pretty consistent with your why?
Right. Oh no, I can definitely say that I have for sure like got sucked into all of that, because it's hard not to
Yeah.
when, like you said, you see all these other people and then you're on a platform that's literally based on numbers and likes and comments and all of this stuff. And even in my business, people say, oh, I don't try and get caught up in numbers, but literally when you have brands and you have brands, even before they even work with you, they're like, send us your numbers, send us your insights, send us your analytics, your story views, and how many impressions and all of that. So it can, that pressure just to constantly perform. And then, like you said, just that pressure of always just feeling like you have to put something out there. And, we like to say it in our industry as being consistent, which you do want to be consistent, but it's almost to a point where you just feel like the wheel is just always spinning. Like you can never just turn it off. You can never turn the switch off. And
Yeah.
so I would say I definitely got to a point where I had to be like, look, sit down, have a heart to heart to myself with myself and just be like, remember why you're doing this. Remember what your why is. And, just know that your self-worth and your value, and you don't have to get validation from numbers and people praise and comments and all of that stuff. So it is something that I particularly have to be intentional about not getting caught up in all of that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's so good. And as we wrap up here, so like you said, you and your husband, you have a blended family and total 4 children. As a mother of 4, how do you fill yourself back up after working these full-time jobs, stewarding your household, managing, making sure everything's right and tight with your kids? Like, what do you do for Courtney?
Yes, so I'm that person. I really value alone time. Like, I don't have to have anything over the top and extravagant, but just time to myself. It's funny, like every year when my birthday rolls around, when Mother's Day rolls around, my husband's like, what do you want? And I'm like, look, I don't need anything over the top. Just take the kids, like, give me some time to myself. Let me go to the nail shop. Let me lay in bed all day and watch movies. Like, I really just value just alone time to like clear my head and not hear mommy every 5 minutes. And so that kind of like just recharges me. I'm not that mom that's like, oh my gosh, I can't be without my kids for 1 second. Like, no, I'm like, go with your daddy or go with your godmom or grandma. And let me just have some time to myself. So really just making sure I just get that alone time to rest and refuel and kind of regain my sanity helps me out a lot.
Yeah, no, 100% I can relate. I think like the last 2 Mother's Days, I'm sure I probably was by myself. Like my husband will
Yeah.
even give me like a staycation.
Yeah.
Listen, I 100% can relate.
Yeah.
So the final question before we get into the rapid fire questions, what role does faith in your relationship with God play in your life and your business?
It's everything for me because that's how I truly started off was just sharing my journey, my testimony, how God has been faithful and how he's just a God of redemption. And so I always told myself, no matter the growth I have, the brands that I have the opportunity to work with, that I will never water that down. I will never, forget that. I'll never remove that from my business because with what I do and having a public platform and especially working with brands, a lot of people kind of like to tread lightly when it comes to faith and,
Yeah.
just to not offend anyone. But that was one thing that I said that will always be a part of my business. All glory will always go to God. I will always talk about how God has been good. And so that's truly everything. Because without that, to me, none of this other stuff matters. The money, the opportunities. If I remove that from my business and what I do, then to me, none of that even matters.
Yeah. And I actually have one final question because I know
Yeah.
some people listening are probably thinking, oh, how can I be an influencer? What would be the first step that you would say for people listening that desire to start building an online platform and brand?
Right. I always tell people just to start is mainly just being you, sharing your journey, not looking at what everybody else is doing and what's making them successful, but to be you. I feel like we all have value. We all have, journeys and testimonies and a purpose that we can help others, whether that's on a small, medium, or large magnitude. We all have something in us that we can, provide value to others. So just think what it is, that God has taken you through that you can help the next person. And then just genuinely share on a consistent basis, just put out quality content on a consistent basis that provides value, and everything else will come.
I love it. Thank you so much. So rapid fire questions. You have 1 second to answer these.
Okay.
So the first one is, what was the first concert you ever attended?
I think it was a Destiny's Child concert, and I was like a teenager. It was like at Astro World here in Houston, like a theme park. Yeah.
Okay, Destiny's Child. What was your first job?
McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So cliche.
Did you?
I lasted there like 3 days, so I didn't last long.
Okay. Do you have any hidden talents?
Hidden talents? I used to call myself the freestyle queen. Like in college, me and this girlfriend of mine, we would always bust these little freestyles, and people would be like, what? So I guess that's like my little hidden talent.
So you can freestyle?
I would say, don't ask me to do it now.
Okay, I say, go ahead and drop a couple bars.
Right.
And the last one, who is the last person you texted?
Probably my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Courtney, for sharing your journey, and thank you for your transparency. If anyone wants to follow you, I know you have an ebook, and just kind of keep up with what's going on, where can they find you?
Yes. So on Instagram, I'm at Court N Williams. And then my actual website is just my full name, CourtneyNWilliams.com. And on that website, there is an ebook for beginners. So if any of you have that question of how do I even start, it's specifically for beginners. So there's an ebook on there that'll help you out as well. And then I do have one-on-one coaching that you can book through my website as well.
Excellent. And all of that will be linked down below. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, go ahead and hit the like button. If you haven't already rated it, go ahead and drop a review as well. And we'll see you next time.
Yay.